Hi everyone. Last week we learnt about health and hygiene. I want to believe that we are practicing good hygiene. This week we shall be looking at first aid. First aid. There are some sudden dangerous things like injury or fainting that can happen to people and that need quick attention while waiting for doctor's help. Learning about first aid helps us to handle these sudden dangers. By the way, have you ever gotten hurt or had any boo-boos? Were you ever running with friends and someone accidentally pushed you? Did you bleed? I am sure it must have been painful. How were you treated? These and many more we shall learn in the course of this lesson. What should you know at the end of this lesson? You must know what first aid is. You must be able to mention some of the contents in a first aid box. And then you must know the types of first aid that can be given to people when they sustain different injuries. Now let's go. First aid. What is it? First aid is the first simple treatment given to an injured or ill person before the person is taken to the hospital to get more medical help. It is important to have a first aid at home or in our schools. And usually, the first aid treatment will be given using the content of first aid box or the content in the first aid box. Why do we need to give first aid? Things happen suddenly, an accident could happen, and then it is wise for us to give first aid to an injured person. In order to stop the injury or wound from getting worse, giving first aid immediately can help save that life, and it will also help the person to get better. Who should give first aid? Children, do not try to give first aid if something happens. Always call an adult to report what has happened and explain to that person what happened. And you must make sure that you yourself, you are calm and you are not afraid. Do not be afraid in case of any emergency. Just report what has happened to an adult. Usually the nurse in the clinic at school gives first aid. But if you're at home and something happens, call your parents or an adult who is around. They can help give first aid to the needed person. First aid box. What are some of the things that are in it? A pair of scissors, cotton wool, bandage, paper tape, antiseptic lotion, and methylated spirits. We can also have gloves, soap, pain reliever, and thermometer. I am sure one or some of us must have had experience at the school clinic. Maybe you have been injured or maybe you have temperature and your teacher took you to the clinic, to the sick bay, and the nurse there used the thermometer on you and probably gave you pain reliever, Panadol. Types of injuries. Examples are cuts and minor wounds, burns, bites and stings, broken bones. How can we give first aid treatment to these types of injuries that are on the screen? How can we help people when they sustain any of these injuries? Okay, how can first aid be given for some of these injuries? For cuts and minor wounds, clean the wound and apply antiseptic with a clean cotton wool. And we have various brands of antiseptic. You have Dettol, you have Salvon. You can use any of them. For burns, put the burnt area in cold water, then see a doctor immediately. For bites and stings, wash the wound with soap and water, then clean the area with antiseptic. If it is a minor bite. For major bites, maybe like snake bites, scorpion, sting, please immediately take the person to the nearest hospital. For broken bones, do not move the broken part, but wrap it with bandages to keep the broken bone from moving. But remember, children, it must be an adult that is given the first aid treatment. I hope in the course of this lesson you have been able to learn one or two things. But here is a task for you. Find out, how can first aid be given to someone who is choking and someone with a nosebleed? Until next week, it's been a pleasure having you in the class. Stay safe. God bless you. For Mrs. Adigun. Bye-bye.